Hey, it's August, and I don't know if you've got kiddos and you're doing back to school shopping, or if you're just doing back to me shopping, whatever it is. You can check out my first podcast sponsor, Reinvented Threads. Gabby Lynn creates incredible items that are handmade. Each one is unique, and she brings together two of her passions: one, caring for the planet, being environmentally conscious and eco friendly, and being creative. She just loves to do that and even incorporate words. She's a little bit of a word nerd, kind of like me. So she creates incredible bags, hats. As we get into cooler weather, she'll be creating scarves. And she's got bags of all sizes. She's got these really great arty monster dolls, which are really just joyful to look at and put on put on a shelf, or a kid could hold on to them because they're really soft and cute. I have a bag I picked up in June from Gabby, and I adore it. And I'm using it to put my laptop in when I'm out working. And I've gotten so many compliments on it because it's bold, bright, very different, and just very cool. So you're not going to see yourself everywhere. This is certainly unique, well made, handmade, and just very cool. So if you care about cool items and the planet, wow, that's pretty awesome because you found the right business to support. Reinvented Threads. You can see Gabby Lynn out in the Poconos August 22nd and 23rd. She will be at the State Craft Festival, which is in Stroudsburg, August 22nd, 23rd. You can get all of the details and find out where she'll be next at her website, reinventedthreads.com. You can also follow Reinvented Threads on Facebook and on Instagram to see what she's up to, what she's making. And if you see something you like, hey, you don't have to see her in person. Reach out through Instagram or Facebook, and you can buy right from what you see on social media. That's Reinvented Threads. Well, it doesn't matter if you're shopping or not, but when it comes to feeling stressed, that's kind of a feeling that goes with pretty much a lot of activities throughout the year. I laugh, but it's true. We've all got stressors. And my next podcast sponsor can certainly help with that if you're open to learning new skills that can help you throughout your lifetime. Healthy Lifestyle Management with Lisa Regau. Lisa is just, she's such a calming person. I know she probably gets sick of me telling her that, but just being near her has helped me like feel less stressed. But she's got this incredible course and it's coming up soon. So you might want to check it out. Now it is in person, so you would have to attend here in Scranton. It is a mindfulness based stress reduction course. It's 8 weeks. It's evidence based with more than 45 years of research supporting people around the world to flourish, manage challenging emotions with physical pain, and respond skillfully to stress. I took this course back in April, and I will tell you, it is a commitment in the sense that it will take just an ability to open yourself up to new ideas and to learning skills that will help you. Mindfulness, meditation, listening to your body, things like that. And I won't do it justice, but I will say that it was an incredible experience. It really was. It's 8 weeks, so it is a commitment. And here's the thing. If you go to the website, eatbreathemovelive.com, you can read more about it. But the great thing is too, that if you go to sign up, and you go to the first meeting, which is, it's actually 8 weeks, but before the 8 weeks begin, on September 9th, there is a mandatory orientation. And this is a really helpful orientation. You go to that, and if you think, you know what, this isn't for me, then you don't sign up. It's that simple. But if you think you want to do it, definitely reach out and check out online eatbreathemovelive.com. And if you register for this 8 week course by August 26th, you will get $50 off. So if you check out the website, you'll get a better sense of what it's about. It helps with stress resilience, emotional well-being, and just having a deeper presence, learning to really be in the moment. And I will tell you, this is not something you're going to take one and done and be like, all right, I'm good. Let me tell you, it's certainly one of the big things that helped me realize is that everything is a practice. So if you're like, oh shoot, I thought I was doing so well, but then I had those cookies and I didn't go for my walk today. It's okay. It's okay. You learn to begin again and meet yourself exactly where you are. So check out Healthy Lifestyle Management online, Eat, Breathe, movelive.com and learn about the course coming up. 8 weeks. Like I said, the orientation is September 9th, and then it's 8 weeks after that. It's every Wednesday, September 23rd through November 11th. Learn more online, and if you want to take advantage of that $50 off, register by August 26th. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Uncorked with Funny Wine Girl. This is Funny Wine Girl, aka Janine Luby. And I know I say this a lot, but I cannot believe how quickly these months are moving along. Here we are already at the end of August. And I will tell you, this is one of my favorite times of year. I know there are people who love summertime. I've never really been that girl. I like hearing those little like crickets or whatever it is that chirp. I love more of the like calm stillness of the fall. And I'm also someone who loves to celebrate her birthday. I'm a Virgo. So all of that I love. But I love this time of year too, because we start to, I don't have any children, but I know folks who do are getting in that back to school mindset. And also, even though it's funny, because even though I don't have kids, it does signify or signal like a change in scheduling and how you feel. And it's like, all right, let's get back to business. So we can use all the tools and resources possible to get into that really like productive mindset and all of that. And so today, I think we'll probably talk a little bit about that, definitely about being productive and, moving forward with intention and being healthy. My guest this week is Lacey Cook from Move with Intention. And as you know, if you ever listened before, and if not, I'm going to tell you right now, what I do like to say at the top of every episode is just briefly how I know my guest, because I do think it is so important that we take opportunities to be curious, to get to know new people, get to keep in touch with people that you might think, oh, I have nothing in common. They have kids, I don't, or I have kids, they don't, or I don't need an accountant right now. I met them at a chamber function, but get to know people, take the time, talk to people, let them learn about you, you learn about them, take their business card, keep it. You never know how you're going to show up in each other's lives again, or how you can help one another. Or like I said, you can just learn something. How about that? So I met my guest this week. Actually, it was interesting. I attended the chamber event. It was the women's empowerment function in April. I led a wellness session, and I've done that before. And I was looking through other presenters, and I'm like, Lacey Cook. And I did want to connect with Lacey. And sure enough, we were back in, I guess they call it the green room. It's, nothing fancy, but it's the green room. I ran into Lacey, talked to her there. And then we connected again because she's collaborating a lot with one of my pals too that I've had on the show, Megan Alpert at Joy World. Megan and I have collaborated. In fact, we've got a comedy show I'm doing for the third year in a row. It's a fundraiser at Joy World Wealth Partners in Scranton. Megan has been on the show before talking about, manifestation and, the money and how all the different pillars that can support that. Wellness, spirituality, all that good stuff. And so Lacey was doing some events there, and she still is at Joy World Wealth Partners. So it was great to run into Lacey there again in person and chat a little bit. But I really want to learn more about Lacey and Move with Intention. So that's why she's my guest this week. So welcome, Lacey.
Thank you so much, Janine. Happy to be here. I'm so glad that we got this aligned and it feels good moving into fall. I agree with you.
Yeah, it's just I don't know why. I don't know if I'm and like I was probably a weird kid who actually maybe like it's weird. I kind of liked going back to school, but yet at the same time, I was a kid with anxiety, so I also had a problem with it. But I liked the time of year. I don't know. Maybe it could have just been because of the birthday. Who the heck knows? But I like it.
When you live in this area of the United States and you get the changing of the seasons and the crunchy leaves and the peak season when it starts to the foliage, it's stunning. And when you don't have it for a long time, then you really realize what you're missing out on, and then you come home and you really appreciate it a lot more. It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Absolutely. And you're right. That is a gorgeous time of year. That's a great place to start if you don't mind, because I met you and I know that you've traveled. You've spent a lot of time outside of this area, but I don't know too much about your background or you otherwise. Let's start there and tell me about your travels, where you were, what you were doing, and then we'll get into what brought you back. But first, tell me a little bit about your travels.
Absolutely. Well, I used to be a little girl that was scared of my own shadow, so I never thought that I would travel ever. And then, just like life happens and it's unexpected, there was a company that came to my school in rural Pennsylvania, middle of nowhere, and offered a trip. And long story short, I worked my tail off to pay for the trip, ended up going on the trip when I was 16, just turned 17, and got to visit France and Italy. And when I went there at that age, first exposure pretty much outside of New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, it changed my perspective and it really changed the trajectory of my life because I thought to myself, I don't know how, but I'm going to live over here. And I ended up going to school in New York and I traveled outside of, Pennsylvania, and when I was in New York, they were like, there's a couple of different programs you can study with. One is in Dubai, one is in Croatia, and I ended up signing up for both of them. I got scholarships. I was super lucky to have been given that opportunity through my university, through college, and I got to study abroad in Croatia, and then I got to study abroad short term in Dubai. So that really motivated me to learn a second language because at that point I was 19 and 20 and I had no language under my belt. So I started taking Italian classes. So here I am. If anyone's ever been in a language class, I don't know if it's just me, but the first day I'm like, is this beginner? Are we sure this is beginner? Because everyone is fluent. And I'm like, I don't think this is the right spot. And lo and behold, I got through it. I got tutoring, and everyone around me, they're Portuguese or they're Spanish. So they've got other languages already in their household. And I had nada, like zero. Unless you want to include Pig Latin, because I think I know maybe one word in Pig Latin that we used to kid around with when we were children. Doesn't count. And I learned Italian. And then after I learned Italian, I actually got nominated to move to Italy and be a professor, a paid professor for a year at an institution in Milan, outside of Milan. So that really kind of launched me into living in Europe and being outside of the United States for a long period of time because I was there for a year. Then I stayed for an extra half a year and I worked all over the country of Italy. I actually got a bus ticket every Saturday. I would open up my email and be like, where are they sending me? And then I would grab my bus ticket, go to the train or the bus, whichever it was, and they would just send me to a different city or a different little town. And I would do summer camps and I worked there for a while and then came back to the States and thought, I don't know about it here. I'm going to go back to Europe. So I found a spot in Madrid where I could get my master's for free because I got a scholarship versus paying 70 grand in the United States, which no brainer. So I went back over there and I studied for a year in Madrid. And that's when the pandemic happened. So, I went to the beach and I got stuck there and I thought, oh, it's just a week. It's just a month. It's just 2 months. And it turned into 5 years that I was over there. So it was an extended experience being in Spain.
Wow. Wow, that's a lot of travel. Oh my gosh. And I want to hear what we'll get into what made you return home and everything, but tell me about like you got to see a lot of different places and it's interesting. There are probably maybe people that would think, well, I don't know if I would choose Dubai, or Croatia. Those aren't always top of mind. I don't know much other than a friend who was in the Navy and she spent time,
Mhm.
of course, in different places in the Middle East. And then a friend of mine who took a cruise a few summers ago and they went to visit Croatia. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's beautiful. Tell me a little bit about those different places as far as the culture, what you saw, and what your experience was like. I know it's not yesterday, but I'm sure you probably still have some good memories that come to mind.
Oh, I've got a ton of memories. And I was actually just telling people about this maybe like last 2 weeks. So it's fresh on the memory. When I went to Croatia, it was a place that I myself hadn't really even heard of before either because it wasn't it wasn't very popular. And this was, mind you, before Game of Thrones was there filming it. So, Game of Thrones really popularized the city Dubrovnik, where I was studying abroad. And actually, at the very end of my semester there, I got to see the whole crew out filming in the streets of Dubrovnik and doing all of like the filming, the crew, and it was very cool. But before that, it was really quiet, and it took me a good 4 months to make friends. And if you're someone who is extrovert, or at least you try to because you want to learn the language, you want to be immersed in the culture, that's a long time. That's a long time to make friends, but the culture itself there was very much to themselves. And it took time to warm them up and to, I think, even have the exposure of, okay, now other students are coming here to our school. We've opened it up. It's a sister campus. My school was RIT, Rochester Institute of Technology. And so there was like an RIT in Croatia, two different locations. There was one in China, one in Dubai, one in Kosovo. So little by little, all those years ago, they started integrating American students in more and more. And I think by the end of the semester, I made such good friends with the people. And I actually even learned 50 words of Croatian, which I thought was amazing because it is not an easy language whatsoever to speak. It's very thick and it lies in your throat, almost like sweet honey. So it's something that you have to really listen to. And it's funny because a lot of Croatians themselves are blonde. So I'd go into any store and I'd really get them with my hello and how are you and what a beautiful day. And then they come at me and I'm like, that's how I got. I'm so sorry. That's it. But it was an incredible experience. And while at first the culture seems to be a bit sheltered into themselves, once you get to know them, they're super warm, very friendly, very willing to help. They're curious. I would also say that they're curious, the culture there. Great seafood, amazing seafood because you're
Mm.
right on the coast. You're right on the Adriatic Sea, and the water is just absolutely stunning. Like if you see pictures of Croatia and you think it can't look like that, it looks like that. I swear to
Wow.
you, it's stunning.
Wow. And how about, and yeah, when I saw photos from my friend, I'm like, I had no clue that it was such a beautiful place. I would have never guessed that. What was it like for you in Dubai?
So Dubai was totally different. I can't compare it to any other place that I've ever been. And I've been to tons of different countries in Europe because I was over there for so long. And you know how it is. You just jump on a flight and pay what, 30 euro, 50 euro, and you're in another country. And then you come back same weekend. So it's very different in comparison to being in the States. So now that I'm back in the States, I'm seeing more of the United States. But when I went to Dubai, my expectations were a melting pot, and that's exactly what it was. I've never been to a place that's more diverse, that has more people from more backgrounds. I mean, you can see just about anyone and anything there, from markets that get popped up in the street. You know, they have just a simple table, maybe a tent, very scraggly, selling their produce. They come from farmland into the city and sell jewelry, fruit, vegetables, you name it. And then I've also seen a palace that serves literal flakes of gold in their coffee. And you're drinking it and you're like, should I have saved it and put it on my finger instead of digest it? And this is just normal. So there is two total extremes in Dubai and everything in the middle. I mean, you'll see the most exotic luxury cars driving down the street, and then you'll also like see airplanes and private helicopters flying back and forth. You also see people on the street, you know, kind of walking around with their flip-flops on, with shorts, and it's not what we expected going over, having to be totally covered all the time and being in traditional wear. It wasn't like that whatsoever. But there are
Mm-hmm.
certain places where you have to be covered up out of respect for the culture. Some of the parks, perhaps, but in the cultural and the heritage location sites, but majority of people in the street, they're just wearing whatever they want to wear. They're gallivanting all around town. There is tons of events, tons of things to do, and people everywhere. It's super diverse, really fun. I don't know if you lived there, I don't think you could ever be bored. There's always something going on. It's like New York City, but more extravagant. The shapes of things are incredible. We got a tour of a building that was shaped like a sailboat, and you walked inside to another building, and it was just nothing but glass everywhere. And on the other side of the glass was an aquarium. So there were sharks and fish, and you're just in the lobby. You're like, I'm just trying to check in. What is this? It's very extravagant, and the service, because I studied hospitality, the service there was like nothing I've ever experienced before.
Wow.
It
Wow.
was
How about the relationships there? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off as far as relating to the people there.
Oh, they were amazing. The people were super hospitable, and that's what they were impeccable. I mean, we were at a hotel the one point, and because we did excursions while we were there too. You know, we would study about the Middle Eastern culture, the language, the food, all of that, and then we would go and do site visits, and we would visit different places, different people, learn a little bit more kind of immersive, hands-on experiences. And we were at a hotel for the weekend, and it's a go downstairs, serve yourself breakfast. And after 2 days, I had made such good friends, had such rapport with the woman at the hostess stand that she actually greeted me on our last morning with my breakfast on the plate and said, "I watched what you got every morning and I think this is what you like. I hope you're enjoying your time here." And I'll never forget that because that's just something that she totally went out of her way to do and she didn't have to just because she felt connection there. And I think the people there really do pride themselves in taking time to connect, to listen, to make sure that you feel seen, you feel heard. Exquisite service in Dubai.
Hmm. Then you move on to Italy and to Spain.
Mhm.
And I have a question, but I want to ask you first about those cultures because they both
Yeah.
sound wonderful places to be, quite frankly.
Oh man, Italy, for me personally, and I may be biased because I learned the language, but when I am around the language, it's like music to my ears. It doesn't matter if they're yelling and screaming. It doesn't matter. It just sounds like a beautiful song, and I want to be a part of it. It's just what it is, the culture over there. And the food is incredible.
Mhm.
So much so that I actually don't go to very many Italian restaurants these days, any days, because it doesn't compare to the quality of the ingredients.
Mm.
Everything is so fresh. It is most often picked from their gardens or brought in from farmland, fresh outside of town, and they are so proud of the food. It's nothing. I even went with my mom one time, and it was her first experience in Italy, and we were walking through a neighborhood, and all of a sudden the chef comes out of the kitchen, puts the chef hat on my mom, says, "Try the sauce. You have to try the sauce." And she's looking at me like panic, and I'm like, "You have to try the sauce. Whatever they say, if it's food, you do it." And it was so delicious. It was so good. And they're just so happy to share their food and for you to have a good experience eating their food. It's like an experience. It's not just let's sit down and have something to eat. It's like let's
Mm.
gather around the table and have an experience together, food being the main course and why we're here.
Yeah. I wish we had that more in America because I had a friend who went to Italy. I think she went twice and she said it's so different because you think pasta heavy, but it's not. She said you don't
No.
fill, probably because they use better ingredients, not preservatives. But
Yeah.
there's something about that idea of sitting around a meal. It's a centerpiece, it's delicious, but what it's bringing out is time to talk, conversation, connection. And we've kind of lost that, I think, in this country, but it's so beautiful to see it still existing in places.
Oh, definitely. And I think that it's something that they do really well there is integrating their family into everyday life, not just on a holiday, not just on the weekend. Even when I lived there, I rented an apartment, and below me was a family that would rent me the apartment, and they invited me every single Sunday downstairs for breakfast, which was, first of all, so nice. I was so grateful for the opportunity because also I got to practice my Italian, and they were teaching me how to cook, teaching me Italian. And when I say I went down for lunch, I mean I went down at 1 p.m. and I didn't come home until 5 because that's how long the lunches can be. Even if you go out to dinner, it is a couple hour endeavor because people just take their time. And when I first arrived, I thought, how am I going to get used to this? And then over time, I'm like, I love this because they just take the time not only to savor their food, but to savor the conversation, savor the time that they have together. And that's so refreshing. So I have actually brought that back with me. Spain does a really great job of doing that too. So instead of, life gets busy, we want to work at our desks while we're eating. And if Yvonne and I can help it, we take time to just sit and be with each other and do like have no phones, no computers, no televisions, because they're so good at that in Italy, where they can just connect with each other and spend that quality time over good food. Those are like the best memories.
Yeah. And then, so Spain was where you spent a good amount of time because the pandemic hit, right? So, what I know you were telling me a little bit about that. You got to teach children, but were you also teaching, I think, dance or aerobics or something as well, something physical while you were over there?
Yeah, well, I've been an instructor now for 10 years, and I started when I was in Italy, actually. So I was shadowing someone over there, and I came home, got my certification to teach Zumba. I was teaching dance classes. And then when I jumped over the pond to Spain again, I was in Madrid, and I decided I'm studying full time. I'm also working part time, but I'm going to start my own business. And I didn't have the name Move with Intention yet. it was mostly just wellness classes. And I would teach kickboxing and hit workouts and dance classes. And then, I mean, being in Madrid, that's a big, big city. The pandemic came, and I realized I didn't want to get stuck in my teeny tiny apartment all by myself. So I booked a one-way train ticket and said, if anyone wants to come with me, let's go. And I went to Alicante because the weekend before I had missed out on a Zumba convention and it looked so beautiful. So I thought that's exactly where I'll go. I'll go to Alicante, I'll spend the weekend there. And then the weekend quickly turned into a week, like I said before, to a month, to 2 months. And we were actually stuck in our apartments for 52 days straight. It wasn't like it was here in the States. We could not physically go outside because if you did, there were police monitoring the street and they would give you a fine and they would yell at you and they had batons in their hand and you were like, okay, I'm not going to mess around with that. I'll stay inside. So once we finally got let out, I thought, I haven't even seen this city before because I've been stuck inside the whole time. And I started exploring and adventuring. And when the rules started to get more slack, because they were quite strict for a long time, I started doing fitness classes on the beach.
Mm.
Because previously on the roof, I was doing them on the roof every single day during the pandemic, and I live streamed it. So my friends from the United States, they would jump in and do it. People from England, Ireland, Canada, and then my neighbors, they're like, "What is she doing on her roof over there?" And I'm like, "Come dance. We're doing a class every evening at 7 o'clock, right after we come out and clap for all the healthcare providers. Join." And it just turned into like a really quick community. So I kept doing those classes on the beach once we were allowed to go outside and roam. And because I did that, I made such good friends so quickly with people and I got to know the city and felt like I was at home. I just stayed. I stayed and a year turned into 2 and 3 and 4 and we just left at the very end of 2024. So we moved back 2025 and I was there for 5.5 years.
Wow. What was well, I have two questions. The first I want to ask, what was the difference that you could sense about um fitness or an approach to wellness? Did you notice a big difference that stood out to you as far as the people you interacted with, how they thought of? Obviously, I think the eating is a lot healthier in different countries, but is was there a sense of how they wanted, handle or treat their bodies, or with the exercise, the movement, things like that?
I would say that there were some differences and some similarities because a lot of people that would come to my classes that were part of my community in Spain and Italy were international.
Mm,
So they were coming from different countries, especially Northern Europe, and coming down, maybe living in Spain for a while or studying, being abroad, like what is it called? Semester abroad, whatever it is,
mm-hmm.
Erasmus. The program was Erasmus over
Oh,
there. So sometimes they'd be there for a year, 6 months, they'd come and they'd go. But a lot of people, when it came to working out, weren't extremely, I guess, excited about joining the gym. And I went to the gym thinking that that's where I was going to get a job. I was going to start teaching Zumba classes at the gym in Alicante because I was previously teaching in Madrid at a gym and in a studio that I was renting on my own. And people were there, but when you're in a beach city, beach town, and you can walk everywhere, you have the beach right next to you, people like they love to be outside. They want to
mm-hmm.
walk, they want to bike, they want to be next to the trees in the sand. So I said, I'm not going to the gym. Why would I go to the gym? I have an entire beach here just open for us to use. So that's where we did all of our classes. And the thing that I think really connected people to the class was that we're not going for reps. We're not going for minutes. We're not going for perfection. We're here to have fun and we're here to move our bodies. And the more that we have fun, the more we move our bodies, the better we feel. And your body is just going to start working with you. My concept was always that your body is your teammate and using fitness to change the perspective of how you look at your body. And I had a lot of men and women come to classes. I mean, Yvonne as well. I met Yvonne because of dancing. He jumped into a class that us girls were doing on the beach, danced the entire class with us. And I thought, this guy needs to stop coming because he's going to be better than me pretty soon. He's a really good dancer. And I want him to be involved more because the more he was involved, the more other guys, other men would come. And you can learn so much from each other when you're willing to exercise or move your body in a way that's fun. It builds community. It was supportive. It's something that we all looked forward to on Friday and Saturday every single week.
Mm. Before we get into what brought you back to the States, tell me if you don't mind, what did you learn about, obviously you visited so many different people and different cultures. What stands out as far as any lessons you took away about people, about humans in general, humanity that you could use going forward?
Oh, there are so many good lessons. That's a great question. I would say curiosity is going to be your best friend. Like you can never look at someone and assume that you know the experiences that they've had, the lessons that they've learned, the wisdom that they have to share. And so by being curious, even if you can't speak the same language, and I know that sounds bizarre, but even if you can't speak the same language, realizing that there's a way for you to connect with everyone. There's always a way to connect with everyone. And when you do, you learn not only about them, but you learn about you. And those are lessons that you can't buy on a shelf. You can't find them surfing the internet. They're things that happen through real life because you've put yourself outside of your comfort zone and made connections with someone that has nothing in common with you, yet they have taught you one of the most valuable lessons in life, and maybe you've taught them. I think there's always something to learn from people. It doesn't matter where you're from, it doesn't matter the different experiences you've had, it doesn't matter your status, your job, your title, what you've been through, but I love hearing people's stories. I've learned so much by just being open-minded and curious by listening to people instead of interrupting or cutting people off or assuming that I already know because I don't know. We don't know. We don't know what experiences they've been through, and the lenses in which they see the world are totally different than ours. So every time we're open, we get a chance to learn and to grow.
Yeah, I think that's great. I love what you said too about even if you don't speak the same language, because it was, I want to say it was 2001 or two when I took my dream trip. I wanted to go to Paris and I went
Mm.
and I was on a train leaving out of Paris to go to Auvers-sur-Oise to see the grave site of Van Gogh because that's my favorite painter. And I silly did not do my research. I just thought it would say the name of the city, but it didn't. So I looked around the train. I'm like, okay, who am I going to ask? And I wanted to my high school and my 2 semesters of French. I wanted to use this petite woman who's like my mom's age. She was like the most non-threatening, or I should say, the least threatening looking. She was just very, she wasn't friendly looking, but she was petite. I asked her. She actually offered us a ride, my friend and
Oh.
I, and we've been friendly since. And so that was 2002, I think. I've spent time in her home. She's come here and vice versa. But it made me think when you said that the one time she came here to the States with her granddaughter, we were in New York City and we were looking at where the explosion of 9/11 and
Mhm.
having a conversation and not fully getting each other's language because I only know so much, and the same with her, and
Yeah.
trying to explain, but yet you still feel the emotion. And then
Yeah.
being in France, in Paris, I think, I forget, I think it was in the city of Paris, the Rodin Museum, where she
Mm.
wanted to express a thought to me, and we were trying to have this conversation, and we were together, we would have our English French dictionaries, and I'd be like, wait a minute. And her granddaughter was great at understanding English better than she was, so when she was around it was great, but still there was that, like, we understood each how we were feeling even in those moments where we couldn't exactly communicate the right words of what we were thinking about this particular sculpture or whatever. But that's what it made me think of, and it's like it's true that you can fully connect even though you don't know the exact words that are, you want to say or what they're saying. Yeah.
Absolutely. I've
Yeah.
had so many examples of that, and I love that you shared that because you never know when it's going to happen. When you ask a question or when you run into someone at the grocery store, it's always like it happens by surprise, and then you never know where it's going to lead you. It could be a lifelong friend.
Yeah. I fully believe that now. Now at 54, I'm getting crankier with my perimenopause. I joke I'm jumping right over old lady going to grumpy old man, but it's still in me. It hasn't been extinguished just yet. But I do believe that because you don't know. I've had people like who, you're just in Boscov's, you're in a department store and you ask a question or you just say something. It leads to a brief conversation, but it's that those moments of connection between humans we need so desperately in an age of a digital age, I should say. So they are so important. That's why I do my best. I still am open to them, but even though I am getting crotchety, but yeah, I'm still open to them and they do
Yeah.
matter.
And that's the beauty of questions too, because if you just ask, "Hi, how are you?" You know what you're going to get back. But when you ask more curious questions or more open-ended questions, you might find that you have someone in common. Like I don't know how many times that's happened to me. And once I went to Italy, this is just random, with my mom a couple of years after I'd already lived in Italy, and I'm on top of this mountain in Amalfi Coast, and I hear Lacey, Lacey, and I'm like, who do I know here? I've never been here before. I'm on a mountain in Amalfi, and I turn around and it's a friend from at least 5 years ago. And he's giving a tour to a group. And it's just like, you never know where you're gonna run into people that you ran into once or that you were friends with once. Like the world is just full of beautiful synchronicities and impossibilities. And I think the more we can connect, the more we can learn about each other and ourselves.
I agree with that. I think that's great. So tell me about so you obviously were enjoying your time in Spain. You met Yvonne there. What made you say, okay, I think I'm ready to go back to United States?
Well, I love that question because I don't think Yvonne and I ever really said, okay, we're ready to go back to America. It was more of we started dating and I told myself I would never do long distance again. And then very quickly we were doing long distance and I didn't even realize it. So I thought, oh, this might be the one because I wasn't even coherent that we were doing long distance. But, we did because he was a professional soccer player for years and years. So he was in Spain, but in the south of Spain. So I tried to see him on the weekends, which was okay. You can live with that for a while. But then the following year, he ended up moving to Andorra, which is a small country between Spain and France, just above Barcelona. So that was a flight. I needed to go by flight and then by bus to get there. So that was a lot more sparingly that we saw each other. And then I think the second to third year, he moved to Italy. So then he was playing in Sicily, in Sicilia. So that was another flight. And then he stayed in Italy for about 2 years in different regions, different areas, which meant he had no flexibility as an athlete. I'm sure you can appreciate athletes that play on the weekends. So when you have your free day, maybe a random Monday. Well, I was a teacher, I had my own business. I was constantly teaching wellness classes, so I was not free on a Monday. So I guess after a while, we just had a conversation of what does it look like if one of us moves to where the other one is versus what does it look like if both of us leave our individual paradises and our dreams to build a dream that we have together? Because we had started doing events together when we first got together, like fitness events, and we would do dance classes together. People would come to the beach, they'd come to the castle in the center of the city. But then he left, so we just kind of put that on pause and I ran the classes. I did Move with Intention, kind of solo gigged it for a while. And eventually we had that conversation and we decided that this is something that we really care about. It's something that's a lot bigger than the both of us. And in order to build it and also to build our relationship, it requires being together. So he sold everything in Italy. I sold everything in Spain. Our friends thought we were joking because we were both so passionate about where we were and what we did. And we pulled the plug. We bought the tickets and we flew back and that was it. We made the decision that we were gonna be together, build our lives together, build Move with Intention together. And we didn't know that it was going to necessarily be America, but that's the place that made the most sense for us to be together and to actually see where this thing went business wise.
Hmm. And so tell me, Move with Intention is the name of your business. If someone was to say, okay, give me the elevator pitch or a little bit longer, because we have more time than that. Tell me about Move with Intention.
That's a great question. And it's fun because it has evolved over the years. And I think that's the part that is the most congruent with Yvonne and I because essentially Move with Intention is us. Like we are the brand and the brand is us because he was an athlete. I was a performer and I would tour around Spain and do presentations for dance and women's races with 40,000, 50,000 people. And that made me realize you can be in the best shape of your life and you can also suffer mentally and emotionally and you can also be disconnected spiritually. Like you cannot know what your purpose is, what your calling is. And for me, we realized years ago, there's so many things that we can implement into fitness that supports the whole human. So essentially, Move with Intention is a movement that supports people who want more out of their life, who are tired of being stressed and burnt out and running on autopilot, which then allows them to strengthen their mental fitness their emotional fitness, their physical fitness, and take charge of their state. Because our state is the emotional body that we're in at any given time. And if we're constantly reactive, if we're constantly stressed, if we're constantly frustrated, then our life is stressed, frustrated. It's not anything else. I mean, we show up everywhere that way. So we do a lot of trainings and a lot of one-on-one trainings, retreats, events to help people not only develop their physical fitness, their stamina, their endurance, their mobility, but also the person behind the business. Because we work with a lot of business owners, a lot of
Mm,
entrepreneurs, people that are already established that have kind of hit the threshold where they're like, I'm doing really good. And why do I feel, lethargic? Or why do I feel so emotionally burnt out or mentally foggy? And these different tools and trainings, because we mix everything together, neuroscience, emotional intelligence, we mix those together with state management and physical fitness so that the whole human can be supported no matter what it is that they're doing in life.
hmm And we know from the research, obviously, movement is so valuable, not just for, of course, people think, oh, yeah, exercise is good for my heart or this or that, but movement, just simple movement. I know for myself, it's hard taking the first step often, but once you get that first step, the rest is easier. But I mean, I don't run now, but I used to, and when I did, sometimes getting started was tough, but it's like, okay, I'm doing this. Or even now, I'm not running, but just simple movement. Sitting too long or being at the computer too long, and like I said, I get cranky. Once I get moving and I go for a walk or go outside, I know how much even a simple short walk can be. And so integrating that and, for our overall wellness, but mental well-being and our productivity and all of that is just, it's so key. And it really, I could see the connection for sure.
Absolutely, because we get so bogged down and we don't realize it because a lot of the information that's being thrown at us at all times, especially like you mentioned before, being in a digital age where everything is just on the computer, on our phones, we've got information flying at us like 120 miles an hour from all directions. And then we wonder why we're so exhausted at the end of the day. And we think that, we can have a drink and it'll go away, we'll feel better. Or we'll just go to bed and we'll figure out, we'll find solutions tomorrow, we'll figure out the rest tomorrow. But it comes back and we feel the same heavy cognizant load. And it's because it's all stored back here. I like to call it the filing cabinet. Just because we can't see it doesn't mean it's not there. It's just like Wi-Fi. People believe in Wi-Fi, so why wouldn't they believe in having this cognizant load of mental energy and emotional energy stuck and stagnant and stored inside of us? So it's like using tools to find a way to release that and alleviate that so that every single day, even you can start with a clean slate and not be carrying over stress from yesterday or even carrying over stress from work home. And then it comes home and it's with your spouse, it's with your kids, it's with your families, your loved ones. Because I know that happens all too often. Everything just kind of jumbles together. And we find ourselves carrying this invisible backpack that just gets heavier and heavier and heavier.
Yeah. That is so true. And it's interesting and I don't know, I mean the digital stuff is a lot. I mean we have so much stuff, but I find that even, I've read about decision fatigue. I feel that. And it's so some days, and then I was listening to a podcast with Lori Santos talking about meta feelings, how we have feelings about our feelings. Like I'm feeling guilty about feeling this or silly about feeling that. And it's like, but decision fatigue, it's the silliest thing, but it's true because it's like something as simple as, all right, what am I going to eat tonight? Like because it's like enough, I'm tired of making decisions. And maybe that wouldn't feel so bad if it wasn't so much overwhelm in
Yeah.
other spaces and the digital, like you said, everything coming at us. It's a lot some days. It's a lot.
Yeah. Well, to put it into perspective, there's 2 million bits of information flying at us all the time. And that is a lot of bits of information. I mean, we can't possibly consciously grasp that much information. So it's almost like you have a whole bunch of toothpicks and you drop the toothpicks and there's thousands of them, millions of them, and you reach your hand in and you grab them and you just see how many you can hold on that one palm. That's how much information that we're able to actually take in. But in the background there's always things going on. I mean, the sounds that we hear, the chaos going on in different locations, online, social media scrolling, it's everywhere. We're in an age right now where information is plenty and being present is something that we actually get to focus and put effort into doing because it's not as easy being when we're constantly stimulated. It's an environment of constant stimulation.
Yeah. And I think we're like you're talking about the pause that we need to take, but also I think we're missing a lot of us are missing the discernment, right? There's a lot of information, but let's not look at all of it. Let's distill it to like the most valid, credible, all that. And or some stuff that's just so irrelevant, like doesn't even matter to your life. Like don't even consider it. It's just too much. It's just too much stuff. Yeah. So
Yeah.
tell me how I know you have some stuff coming up with Megan at Joy World Wealth Partners. You've been
Mhm.
doing some great collaborating there, and I think you're similar to me in the sense that you see that's very valuable to have that collaboration, right? Don't you think working together with other people who believe in the same things you believe in, it can be really beneficial, right?
Definitely. Absolutely, especially when you meet someone that shares the same values as you, because I mean, as a neural trainer, your values are your deepest level programming. So it's not just, I like cheese and they like cheese too. It's a lot deeper than that. And because you have those values in alignment, so many things can be created. And because of that creation, the community benefits, the families benefit, each of us benefit. So I love partnerships and I love supporting people and finding where we have those commonalities and how we can lift each other up, lift the community up, and just give massive value.
Yeah, that's great. And so you do, I mean, we're having this conversation in Scranton and you've done a lot of work with Joy World, which is in Scranton, but you were telling me you just came back from California. So you do trainings and things like that, workshops, pretty much, I'm going to say anywhere probably, right?
Yeah, we have started traveling a lot last year. This year, we were out in California for some trainings. Last year, we did California, we did Florida as well. And then next month, we're going back to Spain because we haven't been there since we actually moved. And we're
Mm.
going to be hosting again in Spain. So, kind of jumping more so around the States and then kind of integrating Europe back into the mix as well for retreats and workshops and trainings.
That's fantastic. Yeah. So tell me about, as we start to wrap up, tell me about some of the things coming up that people here in Northeastern. I mean, I do have listeners beyond. So obviously, people who are not in Northeastern Pennsylvania at the end and in the show notes, I will, of course, tell you where you can follow Move with Intention so you could see, hey, maybe they're going to be where I live. But for folks in Northeastern Pennsylvania, tell me about some things. I know you have a few things coming up that maybe they could check out.
Yeah, and we also are going to be doing some more things online because
Okay.
of popular demand. I think being in an area where we've traveled so much and we want people want to be able to connect from wherever they are. One of the ones that we've done a lot here in Scranton that people love is called Close the Tabs because we get very busy minds. So, just like you close the tabs on your computer, close the tabs in your brain. And you can actually use a technique using neuroscience, using neuro-linguistic programming as a certified trainer will guide you through that process to literally close out the tabs in your brain. And it doesn't seem like it'll be so monumental, but it is super helpful. So we're actually going to start running that online
Okay.
and that's open to anyone. And then upcoming with Joy World, which we're super excited about, is September 9th. And that's going to be a reset. Because, like you said at the beginning of the episode, Janine, it's like summer is at its end. We're entering into fall. It's a new phase. Children or not, people go back to school, kind of back to the routine, back to the culture of go, go, go. And we think it's a really beautiful time to come together in community and reset your whole entire system. Not just your body, even though we do move, we do breath work, and we also do, mental exercises, emotional exercises to connect you to yourself, to connect you to others, to be in community. So it's kind of like a reset. We'll do a total reset. And we also have something on the rooftop here downtown in Scranton, which is exciting. It's at the Oppenheim rooftop, and that's going to be a very fun way to network. Not like your normal networking. You're not going to pop in there with your business card and shove it at the person across from you. It's it's heartfelt. It's also genuine. It's a way for you to learn and develop new listening skills, new speaking skills. I mean, know how to present yourself, know how to use your body, your physiology. Because physiology says way more than our words say. And I don't think a lot of people are cognizant of that because words are only 7% and your body language is 55%. That's a big, big difference. So
Yeah.
being able to control your body language so that your messaging, your voice, everything is in alignment. So that's coming up on the 31st of August on the rooftop.
I did see that. It's interesting. I just saw that ad. I forget if it was Instagram or Facebook. I'm like, well, look at this. This looks different. Very cool. Yeah.
Something
Yeah.
different. Yeah, we like to shake it up and We always get the golden star for making adults feel uncomfortable or get them outside of their bubble, but it's always so much fun. People leave laughing with new friends. It's always a good time. So we're excited because the rooftop is stunning. Like the views of the city, the sunset itself. We've got mocktails, cocktails. So I'm really excited for that one.
That's really cool. Yeah, and you're right about the the uncomfortability, the discomfort, whatever we want to say, because I don't know. I think it's Eleanor Roosevelt is credited with saying do something uncomfortable every day, or maybe it was her or not. But I remember when I was taking improv for the second or third time with a different instructor, Chris Barnes. He was back from California because he was originally from here, and he would say, "Walk through the fire to get to the cooling waters." And I mean, I don't know if that was his quote or whoever's, but I always think of it because I do like it because it's the things that we want to do, the big things. Like, of course, they're scary, but we feel so much better when you get to that other side, the cooling waters, and it's exciting. And but it's not always easy to take that first step, but it is certainly exciting once you do it.
Yeah. Well, that's probably the part that we love the most about Move with Intention because the people that we work with one on one, that's exactly what we do. And I know that I have had to do it in the past where it's like you face yourself, you face your fear, you face something that you're like, no way in hell would I do that. And then all of a sudden you're taking the step after step after step, and you're changing the way that you think about things. And when you change the way that you think about things, the things that you look at start to change. And that's a quote from Wayne Dyer. It is so true because your reality doesn't change. The world is still the same, but you inside have changed. So the way that you view things, it changes too. And you realize that things aren't as scary or things aren't as uncomfortable. And now you have new limits and new levels. And it's rewarding to get on the other side, to walk through that fire and get to the cooling water, like you said before, because you meet yourself and you meet yourself at a whole new level. And then the possibilities are just endless.
Yeah. Yeah. And it really is all up to us, honestly. I mean, externally we want to blame things or we want to attribute to things, right? But ultimately we are our only guide, our true guide, really. That's gonna move us forward to move with intention, right? So
Break through all the barriers, and usually the barriers are ourselves. And when
mhm.
we do start moving with a lot more intention. And I think that's the point of why we built this company and why we do what we do. And people just get to know that they have so much potential inside of them, that there's no limits, there are no limitations. And I think that's a really cool, it's a journey to walk it because you get to walk it on your own and you get support along the way, but it's a journey that you can't buy in a store or online. It's something that everyone gets to experience and live for themselves to see what they're made of.
Yeah, yeah. It's a shame. And I mean, maybe someday it would really be great if this kind of mentality or thinking was taught earlier in life. Because
Mhm.
I think for some, and I'm a Gen Xer, so this kind of stuff, it's like just exploring learning in my 30s or 40s and 50s. But it would be so great and maybe it's happening now with young people to have that sense of you can be anything, you can do anything, and thinking more like this. And I think maybe it's happening more. At least it wasn't happening when I was a kid, but hopefully it's happening now or will be soon.
Well, I can say personally that I know a couple of trainers like myself that are working specifically with kids. So
Good.
it's definitely happening. I mean, there are people in places that are putting it into the school systems. And I think that when you put it into the school systems and the kids grow up with that mentality of I can change the beliefs that come into my mind. I can learn from my emotions. I don't have to be overrun by them. I don't have to be on autopilot. It also positively impacts their parents, their families, their communities. And also, it's never too late. It's never too late to tap into this new style of thinking because really it's just you against you. It's me against me every single day. It's not anyone else. There's no comparison. And it's baby steps. I know with fitness, I always would say, and for myself, because I was 30 pounds overweight, and I said, I'm going to start with one song at a time. I'm not going to kill myself. I'm not going to shove myself into the gym for an hour. I'm going to do one song at a time. So that's 3 minutes. And it's the same, I think, with anything that we take on. If we could just do one song at a time, one step at a time, one thing at a time, it's not as overwhelming and scary because if you look at the whole path that you have to travel, that could be a lot. But I think if you just look at what's right in front of you, it's very much possible for anyone.
Yeah, that's something I used to use when I was training for. I ran two marathons and I don't know, about 13 halves, a bunch of 5Ks. But when I was doing the longer runs, that's, when I was in a good place, it was like, okay, do. But then when it was getting real hard, I'd be like, okay, I'd tell myself, run to that tree right there. And then it was like, okay, run to the next garbage can. But it does help you because you have to really break it down because otherwise, mile 18 of 26.2, you're like, you still got a long ways to go. So you have to look at what's right ahead of you and get yourself through each milestone and keep moving. Yeah.
It seems sneaky, but it's really just training your brain to focus on what's right ahead of you instead of letting it make up stories, because that's what it does. It'll make up stories of, oh, I cannot do this. It's way too much. It's way too far. So you're just like, all right, you know what? We're going to set short-term goals. We're going to set little markers and we're going to celebrate every single one of them. And I can't tell you how powerful celebration is, even if it's just you acknowledging you for getting to that tree in your race, for example, or anything in life, instead of thinking, God, I still suck because I didn't get to where I see myself getting to in a year from now. Well, what about what you did today and what you did this week? Like all those things compound over time and they add up over time. And before you know it, you look back and you're like, wow, how did I get all the way up here? And it goes by a lot quicker than I think sometimes we let our brains convince us of.
Yeah, that is so true. Well, I want to thank you so much for the time today, your time, and for sharing your story and for sharing all this, I think, really valuable information and way of looking at things. So I really appreciate you and thank you so much.
Thank you too. Thank you for having me. I had so much fun. I could have just kept talking and talking. So we'll have to get together and continue the conversation.
Yes, absolutely. I would love that. But right before I do the closing tag on here, though, is there anything else you wanted to say briefly or to direct people to so that they can make sure they don't miss anything with you guys?
Yeah, thank you so much. Since we're kind of new to the Scranton area, if you're local, come out to an event. We would love to meet you. I swear, I love meeting people, and it's really cool to come back home to Pennsylvania and get to meet people. So I would always have a welcome and an open invitation for people that are local. But then also people online can find us on Instagram, on Facebook, really all platforms. We are Move with Intention and send us a message. I mean, we just got back from training in California and we did breakthrough sessions while we were out there. And it's just incredible. Like the things that a breakthrough session will do, what it will open up for someone. And it doesn't take years to change. It doesn't take years to change. It doesn't take years to break patterns, to rewire your brain. And it's just exciting to get to come home and offer that for people in our area. So I feel like if there's any curiosity, reach out to us because we love to teach. We love to give value. And if anything, put some nuggets, some tools in your toolbox because I think that we can all help each other grow.
Yeah, that's great. And so, folks who are local, keep in mind August 31st at the rooftop at the Oppenheimer, or I should say Oppenheim. Oh my God, that's Oppenheimer. That's the bomb movie. Oppenheim. The Oppenheim building. I grew up here. I should know that. Yeah, Oppenheimer. I'm thinking of a movie. I think about the atom bomb or something. But yeah, the downtown. It's really beautiful. The Oppenheim, and they do all kinds of cool events there. So that's August 31st, September 9th at Joy World Wealth Partners downtown Scranton. It's on North Washington Ave, and that's where I'll be doing a comedy show September 24th. So make sure to follow. We are Move with Intention, Instagram, Facebook. I will also have that in the show notes so that you don't forget. So I want to thank Lacey again for today's conversation. And I want to say to all listeners, if you know a woman that you think is, oh my gosh, that Betty is just fabulous. She does this, she does that. I like to say, if it's not you that's reaching out, say, hey, Betty, would you like to be on this podcast? I think you'd be a great guest. Once you got Betty on board, reach out, connect us, or maybe it's you. Maybe you're the person, the woman that would like to be on this show. I do like to amplify the voices of women each week so that listeners can be informed, inspired, and entertained. And if you would like to support important conversations like this, because there is so much noise out there, please reach out to me because I have very affordable sponsorship packages and one-time shout outs for only $25. So just reach out, follow Funny Wine Girl Janine on Facebook and Instagram, and you can connect with me on LinkedIn. Or like Lacey said, come on out to an event, say hello to me. I'd love to talk to you. It would be great. All right. As I say each week, I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart and the bottom of my wine glass.